Greetings and welcome back. Welcome back. No, it is not the almost just the 1 minute mark, but I am not going to wait for the 1 minute mark because some people, or unlike some people, I have to work. So you see the thumbnail, you see the title. And this is in reference to a disagreement. But I must say, and I will say, excuse me, unless you have concrete proof of something in writing, it should be placed in the box of allegations. Now, to whom this may concern, I could care less about what is released because remember, everybody, everybody has receipts. But the difference is because I really, really don't like to engage in these types of matters. I've kept things on the low. You wouldn't know that. And there are people that may be giving you credit, but I don't believe, and again, I don't have any proof, and these are just assumptions from me. I do not believe that you are behind every word. And the reason why I say that is because you tag someone else. Let me let me advise you if you're open to advice. Do not do not place someone as a shield for your nonsense because unbeknownst to you, and I'm sure you aren't privy to everything. See, there are some people that like to talk about many things, but they leave out pertinent facts. They leave out pertinent facts. Let me reiterate what I've said because I don't want to continue to say this over and over. But as this little saga continues, and actually, there's going to be a big stop put to it, a very big stop. I have not been working with Monto nor Skinny. I was in the man's chat one time. One time, I was in Mondo's chat. One time, and I asked him to drop the link. However, because he was on his phone, he was unable to do that. There's no working with one another, and I'm sure you all have seen the videos and my version of calling things down the middle. I explained the situation and took accountability for my role in how I feel what happened as far as Skinny and I about 2 years ago, two, 3 years ago, maybe. Had I not said anything to him, there would not have been a label. So again, I have to take responsibility for that. Secondly, did I go to the courthouse? Absolutely. I felt as though I needed to. But the difference is both of what I filed, and they were just protection orders because I felt I needed them. They were denied. And I've mentioned this before. When you live in another state, most of the time, they're going to be denied. The problem with that is it's not always the person that you may perceive as the one threatening you that could bring you problems. It could be those that live in the same jurisdiction. And that actually is what happened with me. There was someone in Russian Tony. Okay, nobody's untouchable. Nobody's untouchable. As I've said, there was someone in my jurisdiction that said to a particular person, let me get that paperwork because that's in my neck of the woods. So that is why you never know who's listening. You never know who's listening and who may be in your area. Again, unless you have concrete proof and evidence, anything else is an allegation. An allegation. I don't have any proof of any communications between myself, Mondo, or Skinny, and the person that is sitting here spewing these lies because that's exactly what they are, hasn't provided any either. Now, did I have conversations with another individual with whom he tagged? Absolutely. Absolutely. But what that individual failed to speak on is I felt bad and I reached out to that individual because I know what I went through and I invited them to my platform. So, yes, there was email communications. Absolutely. But I do not believe that I wrote specifically that I wanted to be the face of the cyberbullying and harassment campaign. I believe, and if I'm wrong, I know how to go back and apologize and say that I was wrong. But what I did request, excuse me, I did request to get in contact with Mondo to see if he would be interested in doing a podcast in reference to cyberbullying because at that time I did not know that he had. Hey there, Leonia, how are you? Hey there, Miss Eve, how are you? I did not know he had apologized. But see, that part was left out. Another thing that was left out when a particular lawsuit was first waged against YouTube at first, and then the former cousin of a busty bus. I actually provided that individual with names and companies of process servers. But, but, Mr. Reporter, you didn't speak on that. As a matter of fact, neither one of you did, to my knowledge. All of that was hush hush. All of that was hush hush. Why? And the trolls are coming. As I said, that was hush hush. I would think, and perhaps I'm incorrect in my thinking, that someone who went pro se, and that is without representation by an attorney, would advise certain individuals that you should have proof before speaking things that are not true. Defamation was a big deal to an individual some time ago. And again, I understand and sympathize. That was genuine. But after some time, and after someone says they record, that makes or could make another person, yes, Miss Eve, and this person has made fun of it. And no, I'm not using it as a crutch at all. But thank you, Miss Eve, for sharing that. It's really sad, and a lot of people don't understand it. Some people do. And that individual, from my understanding, again, I have no proof, but from my understanding, made light of it too. And there was actually an apology rendered through communication. So make sure all of that's released. I believe an individual was upset because during a live a long time ago, but I remember it. It was Mondo's live, as a matter of fact. He stated that he wanted to thank someone for trying to put him in the right direction. And this particular individual that you tagged stepped up and said thank you. When the truth of the matter is, that wasn't the person he was speaking about. It was me. That's where a lot of the issues came in. See, some people don't know everything. Some people really wouldn't care about everything. But the point is, I haven't told any lies as it relates to my working with anyone. I've stated I've forgiven people and moved on. However, I've made my observations and stated exactly how I felt about those. And it's coming out of my own mouth. It's coming out of my own mouth. And it can't be refuted. So let me drop some more tea. And I'm not going to go too deep with it, but this is just advice. This is just advice. The federal government frowns upon fraud. Frowns upon fraud. Now, as I said, I do not receive Social Security. I do not receive SSI. I do not receive SSDI. And I do not know, hey there, street poet, I don't know if a particular individual does, but let me, since we're sharing, and I'm not a selfish person, a brief conversation where I was extremely upset one day and said, as a response, that when I applied for disability, it was denied twice. So I'm just going to leave it alone. That individual stated, and the difference between many people is if there were ever a need for a polygraph, mine would come out clean. Would yours? This individual stated, and I was really taken aback. I was taken aback because this is a former federal employee. Now, I'm not going to say the agency. I wouldn't do that. But again, and I do not know if this person receives any of the aforementioned types of assistance from the government. But I would think perhaps because of the conversation, that conversation was maybe you need to add more to your complaint. And these were the exact words. And hear me clearly. You may want to say, I'm so depressed that I don't even feel like bathing anymore. It's been 3 days and I still don't want to bathe, even though I can smell myself. That was the advice given to me by another pillar of the community, another upstanding, honest individual, to add fluff to a claim that might, not for sure, but might have the person that's reviewing my claim give it a yay instead of a nay. Now, I just wonder if this person is receiving benefits. Was that language used in order to receive those benefits from the federal government? And if so, and if it were not true, then that was a fraudulent statement made in order to obtain assistance from the federal government. You see how that works? Did you know that? Did you know that? There's more, but I'm going to leave it at that. Hey there, DL. And one more thing, because I have to get back to work. There are people, unfortunately, in this world who will use the system in the form of filing lawsuits that may not, and I'm not saying that any are not accurate or they don't hold merit, but there are some people that will file frivolous lawsuits in order to break pay dirt. Oh, absolutely. The demons are actually shaking or will be soon if this foolishness does not stop. So, as I said, do not allow someone to be collateral damage in a fruitless campaign to smear my name by saying things that are not true. I made my statements. I gave my opinions. And you, in my opinion, have a history of referring to a few Black women in a negative sense. I have expressed I didn't appreciate your telling my story as it related to Mondo. Everyone knows that wasn't true. Again, we both talked about it in private and public and laughed about it. But for whatever reason, you find the need to bring it up. There are people's chats now that I don't want to go in, not because I don't support them, it's because of you sitting up there spinning things that are not true. I should not feel that way, but I do. But I do. I'm the star of my show, is what was said. To me, that's again, my opinion. Some people may say, no, you should feel like that. But in a way, I feel as though it's selfish, especially if you're fighting for the same things. Everyone should have equal time to share their experience. One is no more important than the other. Hey there, Paulding County. No one is more important to the other. So you can continue to spin these narratives all you want. I just ask a simple question. Working with Mondo, and Skinny. Please present to your audience and to me. And if you keep fucking with me, perhaps some other individuals, the evidence that you have to support that, because just saying it isn't going to cut it. And I would think a millionaire would have schooled you on that. Oh no. I hope I am not compelled to go federal to have an inquiry done because you want to tag other individuals. Because whether you know it or not, that will trump anything you may have. So those little people like Russian Tony that just came in here, I would advise that person not to come to my chat anymore, not to make any comments. As a matter of fact, it is July the 2nd, 7:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am saying to you, do not at me again. This is my first and last time saying that to you. Do not at me again. I'm done with it, at least on the internet. That's all I'm going to say. I really, really hope and pray that people see exactly what, in my opinion, because of how you referenced me, because I shared that I didn't appreciate you speaking for me. I don't need you to speak for me. I don't need to hear it. And I did try to have a civil conversation with you, and it didn't work out. Hey there, Carl Belton. How are you? So, as I've said, there is no proof of your assertions of my working with anyone. And again, I do not care about emails or texts. I don't, because keep in mind, I have my own. And conversations again that, again, may not necessarily mean this person may have added anything if they're receiving federal government benefits. But the Office of Inspector General for all federal government agencies will, and I repeat, will at least look into allegations of potential fraud. Allegations. Allegations are something that you have done with no proof. Hey there, Mike Abbey. So, tread lightly. Tread lightly. History shows and will show you began by jumping on panels telling my situation that wasn't true. I made it clear I didn't like it, but you continued. So now you want to spin this untruth of my working with someone and that I'm fond of people. I don't hate anyone. I don't hate you. I dislike your behavior. Absolutely, I do. This isn't the first time I've dealt with that name. Did it hurt? Absolutely. And having to see it now, it still hurts. But I'm not going to melt away because of it. That's something you're going to have to deal with. And someone was on my platform earlier today who lost family members because of it. So keep in mind, your disrespect for me is not just hurting me, it's hurting the memory of those that have passed away. There's no excuse. None. What was the reason for calling Miss 504 or 304? Did she speak out and call you out for something that was her opinion? Same thing with Lady DJ. Why'd you refer to her as a C word? You've been speaking on people and their business ever since you hopped up on here. So when people fire back or state their opinions, you disrespect them after you say you don't go at women. That isn't true. That isn't true. So as I said, publicly, do not at me again. I'm not adding you. And as far as I'm concerned, I have responded again that I have not spoken to, nor am I working with anyone. That is the God's honest truth. And if you cannot show proof of that, and you can't because there is none, then please let it go. Let it go. It's not worth it. It's not worth the problems that can come if it continues. And Russian Tony, if I were you, I would stay out of this. You have nothing to do with this. So you continue to support who you wish to support and be honest about it. I never said I was a perfect person. I never said or pretended my hands have been 100% clean when I know, in fact, they have not. But I try to stay away from nonsense and bringing back up things that were said and done years ago is not conducive, honestly, in my opinion, to anyone. So I ask you again, please stop. It's done. And stop tagging people and bringing other people in. Thank you for those that came by. Thank you for those that support. And thank you to those that have an open mind and would ask the simple questions, which are, what proof do you have this person is working with such and such? And I also ask the question, what real man do you know? Keeps talking about showing people who you are. You don't know me. You know what you hear and see on here. But unfortunately, others might be seeing who you are because of your history. I have not filed a complaint nor had any cases against anyone on social media, despite everything that I went through. That should tell you something. A person who goes from place to place like a little lost pound puppy looking for a home cannot be trusted in the same way, in my opinion, that you're behaving towards me. Eventually, perhaps it will be done towards someone else. Again, I have not spoken against your nationality. For what? What would I get out of that? Your family? None of that. Please stop. Please stop. That's all I ask. Everyone, take care and enjoy the remainder of this beautiful Tuesday, perhaps Wednesday, depending upon where you are on the globe.